Welcome, strategist of the unseen. Today you begin to step out of the fog, where most minds wander. Let me start with this truth. Master yourself, and you will never be mastered by anyone. If you're here, it's not by chance. No, this message was meant for you, the one who refuses to be average. Before we unlock what it means to think like Machiavelli and act like Sun Tzu, do yourself a favor, like this video, and subscribe to this channel. Not because everyone else does it, because you aren't everyone. You are rare. And rare minds require rare knowledge. You see, the world is ruled not by the loudest, but by the most disciplined. While the masses drown in their impulses, scrolling, reacting, exploding, you will learn how to stay silent, cold, unreadable, and infinitely more powerful. That's the art of self-control. And that's what separates those who watch life from those who shape it. Now picture this. Two ancient minds. One, Niccolo Machiavelli, the master of perception, political manipulation, and cold calculation. The other, Sun Tzu, calm, invisible, deadly strategic. Alone, each is powerful. Together, they form a blueprint for mental dominance. This isn't about becoming a tyrant or a warlord. It's about becoming untouchable, unshakable. A mind so sharp, so trained, that no insult, no betrayal, no obstacle can pull you into emotional chaos. Because that's what the weak don't understand. Self-control is not suppression. It is power, precision, timing. It is knowing when to strike and when to disappear. Machiavelli taught that those who control appearances control outcomes. He believed that the wise should learn how not to be good and use that knowledge sparingly. Imagine that for a second, not being ruled by your morality, but by your mission. That's the edge you need in a world where sincerity is exploited and honesty is often used as a weapon against the honest. But how do you do it without losing your soul? That's where Sun Tzu walks in, like a shadow in the wind. He teaches you that control begins with understanding yourself deeper than your enemies ever could. That the greatest battles are won by avoiding the need to fight them at all. He whispers, "He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not, will be victorious." And that enemy, sometimes, is you. Your first battle isn't against the world. It's against your own impulses. The craving to speak when silence is your advantage. The urge to retaliate when walking away wins the war. The need to be seen, heard, validated, that's the trap. That's how average people stay average. But you're not here for validation. You're here for control. And that begins with choosing your mind over your mood. Most people are slaves in golden cages, ruled by their emotional reflexes. They think freedom is doing what they want, when they want. But the truth is darker and sharper. Real freedom is the ability to not do what you want, to pause, to wait, to calculate. Machiavelli would tell you, if you let your feelings guide your decisions, you will be led by those who don't feel at all. And trust me, they're out there, watching, waiting for your next move, for your next weakness. Let me give you an example. Imagine a king with immense power, but no self-control. At the first sign of insult, he lashes out. At the first taste of desire, he indulges. He thinks he's powerful, but in truth, he's predictable. And what's predictable is vulnerable. Now, picture a different kind of ruler. One who smiles while being insulted, who delays gratification like it's an art, who lets others speak first so he can measure their mind. That ruler, he's dangerous, he's unforgettable, and he always wins. That's the version of you that begins to awaken now. Every time you resist reacting, you sharpen your blade. Every time you choose strategy over emotion, you ascend. And And the beauty of it, no one even sees it happening. You become quieter, but deadlier. Calmer, but more effective. You're not louder than others. You're simply undeniable. This is how Sun Tzu thought. His enemies never knew they were losing until it was already over. And Machiavelli. He'd already written the script you were reading from. Their minds were always 5 steps ahead because they didn't let noise distract them from the deeper game. And that's the game I'm teaching you now. So how do you start playing that game? You begin by mastering the small moments, the quiet, invisible battles that no one claps for. Waking up early when your body begs to sleep. Saying nothing when your ego screams to speak. Walking away from distractions disguised as pleasure. This is not glamorous, it is not easy, but it's what separates the spectator from the strategist. Let me be clear. Self-control doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean submission. It means knowing your power and choosing when, not if, to use it. That's what Machiavelli admired in true leaders. He never glorified cruelty. He respected discipline, the ability to bend reality, not through brute force, but through the manipulation of perception, timing, and silence. He knew that a restrained move carries more weight than 1,000 wild actions. Now think of Sun Tzu again. His victories weren't marked by bloodshed, but by absence of conflict. His genius was in winning without ever needing to fight. How? By shaping conditions so perfectly that his enemies destroyed themselves. And that's what you can do. Not to others, but to the obstacles that threaten to control you. Every time you delay a reaction, you gain ground. Every time you think before you speak, you create space. And in that space, you decide what happens next. That's the arena where real power is born. Not from domination, but from mastery. Let me tell you a secret. People don't fear those who shout. They fear the one who stays quiet, watches, and waits. The one who listens more than he speaks. The one who smiles when others provoke him. Because that person, he is unreadable, unstoppable, and unforgettable. And the moment you begin to become that person, you don't just shift the game. You become the one who sets the rules. And once you become the one who sets the rules, everything around you begins to bend, quietly, subtly, in your favor. You no longer chase influence. You draw it. You no longer demand respect. You command it. Through presence, not noise. Because the truly powerful don't need to prove anything. Their stillness speaks louder than most people's rage. This is where the philosophies of Machiavelli and Sun Tzu converge into something terrifyingly effective. The power to manipulate outcomes without ever appearing to. It's not about control over others. It's about such profound control over yourself that others are naturally pulled into your orbit, unsure why they feel outmatched, yet unable to escape it. That's what happens when your emotions become tools instead of chains. Let's go deeper. When someone insults you, they expect a reaction. When you don't give it to them, you rob them of their power. That's Machiavelli. When someone attacks and you let them overextend while you wait in silence, only to strike with precision, that's Sun Tzu. When people around you spiral in chaos and you stay unmoved, it doesn't make you cold. It makes you legendary. Because let's be honest, the world isn't kind to the reactive. It's designed to break those who act from emotion. Social media, politics, personal relationships, everything is crafted to provoke, to bait, to pull your mind out of alignment. But you're not here to be baited. You're here to play the long game, the invisible game, the only game that matters. And here's the paradox. The less you react, the more power you hold. People start to study your silence. They wonder what you're thinking. They begin to speak carefully around you. Why? because they feel your control. And in a world obsessed with being loud, your quiet becomes magnetic. You're no longer just a player. You're the hidden architect of the board. Now, let's dive deeper into how this plays out in the world around you. You see, the more you master self-control, the more you realize that you're no longer a slave to your impulses, your desires, or the expectations of others. And that's when you start to realize the ultimate truth. Your inner world becomes the blueprint for your outer reality. Every time you control your reaction, you subtly reshape the world in your image. People around you begin to sense that you're different. They can't quite put their finger on it, but there's something about you that feels different. And that feeling, that's your power. The more you master your mind, the more the world starts to bend toward your will, even without you lifting a finger. Machiavelli understood this principle very well. He knew that power isn't about being the loudest, the strongest, or the most aggressive. It's about controlling perception. You're not just seen for what you are, but for what others believe you are. The more you control yourself, the more they'll perceive you as a force to be reckoned with, even if you haven't said a word. And remember, perception is everything. People don't fear the man who acts on impulse. They fear the one who keeps his cards close to his chest. Think of it like this. When someone speaks to you in a confrontational manner, most people feel compelled to defend themselves, to argue, to react. But you stand still. You don't jump into their emotional chaos. You don't rush to defend or justify yourself. Instead, you watch, you listen, you wait. And in that moment, something incredible happens. You become the calm in the storm. Your stillness, your silence, becomes a power they can't understand. And this isn't just about moments of conflict. This applies to everything. The way you approach your goals, the way you deal with setbacks, the way you carry yourself through life. The most powerful individuals on earth, the ones who truly shape the world, are not the ones who move in haste. They move with precision. Every step they take is deliberate. Every decision they make is calculated. Their actions appear effortless, but behind them lies an incredible amount of control. This is the essence of Sun Tzu's philosophy. He didn't teach that you should act quickly and impulsively. No, he taught the value of patience. He understood that the true battlefield is the mind, and the battle is won before the first move is ever made. The calmest mind is the one that can see the whole picture, plan 3 steps ahead, and make moves that leave others blindsided. Now, think about how this applies to your life. Every time you pause, every time you take that extra moment before you react, you're not just protecting yourself from rash decisions. You're setting the stage for your victory. You're making sure that when you finally do act, it's not just a move, it's the right move. And in a world where most people are rushing, reacting, and stumbling, you will stand as a pillar of calm precision, a force that no one can predict and no one can stop. And here's the kicker. This doesn't just make you more effective. It makes you irresistible, because people are drawn to that stillness. They're drawn to people who don't need to prove themselves, who don't need constant validation. Your power lies not in how loudly you shout, but in how deeply you understand yourself. You're like a chess player, sitting calmly, observing every move, while the others are too busy panicking to even realize they're losing. When you start thinking like Machiavelli and acting like Sun Tzu, you don't just play the game, you create it. You're not simply reacting to life's challenges, you are deciding how they unfold. And that's the difference between simply existing in the world and commanding it. So now ask yourself, are you ready to stop reacting and start ruling? Because the moment you truly commit to mastering yourself, you step into a realm where very few ever go. You stop playing small. You stop being predictable. You stop being controlled. And that's when life begins to open in ways you've never imagined. Not because the world changed, but because you did. This is the power of self-control. This is the art of thinking like Machiavelli, cold, calculated, strategic, and moving like Sun Tzu, calm, precise, invisible until unstoppable. It's not theory. It's not fantasy. It's real. And it's available to you now if you're bold enough to take it. But be warned, the path of mastery is not for the faint-hearted. Most will never walk it. They'll chase pleasure, comfort, validation, and die quietly inside. But you were never meant for that. You feel it. You've always felt it. You're here to move differently, to think differently, to win differently. So if this message awakens something in you, don't let it fade. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and become part of a movement that's rewriting what power looks like. Not loud, not chaotic, but silent, strategic, unstoppable. Because this isn't the end. This is the beginning of the you no one sees coming.